I've been thinking a lot about online community lately. When I was 14 and got sick initially, I discovered what was then the YouTube community. A bunch of nerds with laptops, many of whom I got to know and meet in person. A real, honest to God community of folks who met through silly videos and comment sections and common ground. Since then, we've entered the era of the influencer, and YouTube feels more and more like a TV viewer versus performer dynamic, which is fine. But perhaps even if the platform, the algorithm, the culture, or whatever is moving away from that model of people with YouTube accounts talking and getting to know one another, being empowered by each other's friendship and storytelling, maybe we can just do that ourselves. And maybe I can control what kind of community culture and connections happen, if not on this website, then at least in my own corner of it. Lately, I've made a few wonderful friends through this weird, wild web, and I think striving towards conversation and community is going to be a priority for me from here on out. Anyway, this is how I got to hanging with Serena on Zoom and chatting about videos and travel and representation. You should look at her videos after you watch this. Since recording this chat, she's started making more videos discussing racism and justice, as well as all the topics mentioned in this video, and she's so wonderful and worth following on her journey. Anyway, I hope you enjoy this conversation.
I find myself going through waves with YouTube in general. And like I was saying, being able to find community has been hard. I'm not sure who to reach out to. I don't want it to seem scammy. So I'm like, I don't want to do this. So you taking the step to do that, I think is amazing.
Oh, no worries. I was just like leaving a comment like, is she going to think I'm a scam?
So how has it been for you? I'm not sure. I didn't look back to like your first videos, but how long have you been?
I think we're kind of similar. So like, I think like you, I was like putting up random videos when I was a teen, like 2 a year.
Yeah.
And then like around January, I was like, okay, I'm going to start like every single Sunday. We're going to do this. I made all the videos like a year in advance. So I do it really weirdly. So I was like, I'm going to make all the videos in like 2019, 2020, and then start uploading them like a year later. In my head though, I was like, oh, I'll make them all now. No one will be able to tell the difference like next year when they go up, because who, like, I just want to be topical. And then like immediately there was a pandemic and it's so obvious that they're like not the right time.
I started last summer, like at the end of the summer, and then I stopped for a few months. So it does feel like I'm starting over now. I think the video I did about Damon Dominique's French course definitely brought a lot more people.
Yeah, that's how I found you.
But now I think it's like finding the people who are actually interested in what I'm making, because French videos isn't all that I'm making.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll see. It's slow but steady, I think. Something I definitely appreciate. I've gotten to a point where I'm more comfortable like sharing on Instagram that I have posted something on YouTube, and my friends will be like, your editing is like really good. The way that you put the music, incorporate music into it is really good. And I think hearing that from people in my life is even more impactful than like strangers on the internet. The people that care about me are taking the time out to send me a message like, yo, I watched that video and it was pretty good. So that feels the best.
Who were you watching when you were like, first of all, like when did you start watching YouTube?
I can't even, it was high school. So I'm 28 now. So over 10 years ago, I started watching YouTube, and I would watch, it was very makeup forward then, you know, everyone was doing
I was like a big Michelle fan stan.
Exactly. So I liked all that glitters, and then it transitioned to more travel stuff. So Fun for Louie and all of them, I was into it. Damon and Joe came out, and I think I started watching them like 5 years ago. Is that a lie? I don't know. But when they were like at VidCon and nobody knew who they were is when I started watching them. And so that was great. So it's always been a mix of like makeup, because I still like makeup sometimes, but definitely more travel and lifestyle stuff now.
When I started watching, I watched like a lot of people who were just like talking to a camera, and it was very low key. And it might actually be a bit of a cultural thing, because I watched so many British people at the beginning who were like a bit more local to me. And I definitely felt like when I started watching, and again, it was like 10 years ago, it was much more like there was a lot of teeny tiny channels who had like 50 subscribers and they all watched each other. And if you were sort of one of those, I don't really know how algorithms work because I don't understand computers at all, but it was kind of like, oh, like you could find other ones. And now I definitely feel like there's like a lot of small creators who are all watching the big ones, and it's like, how do we find each other?
Exactly. And I think it's so interesting now hearing people who have been on YouTube for that long, because when I was younger, I was never I didn't want to make videos. I didn't watch other people's videos and be like, oh my gosh, I want to do that. It wasn't until I started traveling and realized how much I loved traveling and how much the people in my life didn't like it as much. And I was like, this is why you just need to see. You need to see what's out there and you will want to go as well. And that is my biggest motivator and why I started originally back in college when I was studying abroad. That was supposed to be it. And then I fell off. But now still like I have an older sister and she's still never left the United States. And I'm just like, there's so much to see. So that's my biggest motivator, is just wanting people, especially Black people, to see the rest of the world.
That's such like a lovely motivation.
Yeah, I try. Hopefully it's entertaining enough, but yeah, that's it.
So like I know you're like a therapist, right? Like by trade?
Yeah, I'm an associate marriage and family therapist.
So cool. So cool. So like your vision, do you want to like go more into like making YouTube videos as a part of your career, or is that just like a hobby while you like actually like fix people's mental health? As you're like, wait, what's going on?
It's definitely a hobby for now. I think especially since the pandemic happened, I went from working full-time to working part-time. And I really just wanted, the whole productivity movement, the whole like, we need to be working as hard as possible. I was like, okay, well, I need to be doing something else with my time, which is not the healthiest. But now that I have really invested the time in trying to make videos and learn how to edit and learn how to edit better and make my editing more entertaining, it feels like a hobby that I hope could become more. Like right now, I'm not worried about it. I'm just enjoying the process. But I think, there's that little part of me that's like, what if this could be something bigger? And I think that applies to a lot of things that people do. And now we have YouTube to kind of add to that bucket of things. Like when people learn how to play a sport, it's like, what if this could be something?
It can be such a powerful thing to like see someone from like your community or who's like you doing something that you don't like traditionally always see people like doing. Like I definitely think most travel content, especially in traditional media, is like mostly white people and like
white men
chronic illness. And I'm really trying to be like videos where I'm like, this is what it's like to have a chronic illness, and I'm not just like a sad move, like a sad John Green book, like
exactly. So how did that start for you? Like what, having a chronic illness, what kind of motivated you? I guess you kind of just spoke to that, but what motivated you to really openly discuss that in your videos?
I think for me, like, I don't know if everyone does this, but I was like so affected by like the stories that I saw and like the representation I saw that I actually didn't understand my own life. Like I couldn't almost tell the story of it because I was so like confused. I was trying to like constantly fit myself into these like narratives of like more able-bodied people, and I was kind of being like, oh, I just go to school and I'm going to college and all this stuff, but it was kind of a lie in a way, because actually a lot of the time I was like at home and sick and dealing with all this health stuff that people my age sort of weren't supposed to deal with. So I almost like fell into like telling my own story as like a way to kind of work it out, because I was like, okay, it's not being told by other people, so I'm almost going to try and tell it to myself and like make these coherent little videos about like what's going on, and then I can kind of be like, okay, I've worked it out, I have like a grasp on what's going on. And it's just really lovely, and then like it just resonated with a few people.
Again, a lot of what drew me to YouTube as well, once it really grew and I could see what was out there, like I view it as a search engine. And if you're looking for information, YouTube is a great place to go, because there are people who are sharing their stories like you are and normalizing experiences. And I think it's just really awesome that people can go online and find those communities so easily now.
Is there any specific communities that you found online that maybe you didn't have like as much access to in real life or in like traditional media, who like, I don't know, who like representation you found really useful, or like who like changed the way you see yourself or like broadened your mind in any way?
So I think over, again, the 10 plus years that I've been watching YouTube videos, what I've been seeking has evolved. And there was a period when I was going from like perming my hair, straightening it chemically, to wearing it natural. And no one in my life was doing that. And so I went to YouTube to try and figure out how to do my hair. Like what do I need? How do I become more patient in taking care of it? And so that has been just finding access to, again, like being able to access Black women with natural hair and learning from them was really amazing, because going to salons and doing it is expensive. So having kind of that free resource has been great. I think also with traveling, again, as we talked about, like the travel industry is very white male dominated. And so being able to find people like Joe Franco, who is this Black woman traveling the world, was really inspiring. I think there's always this fear that we can't go to certain places. And so seeing people do that has been amazing. Whether I want to find a book, like BookTube is amazing. And I'm like, should I buy this book? And I get to go read reviews. And there's just so many things. I think right now, I'm really trying to find my style. Like I want to be more fashionable.
Ooh,
and like
love it.
mid-size women on YouTube have been really helpful for me. Like, okay, I think usually when you look in fashion, it's a certain size and you're like, okay, that looks amazing on you, but how's it gonna look on me? So having women that I can look at who are a similar size to me and I can be like, oh, she's rocking that, I can rock that too. Like that's the phase that I'm in with YouTube right now.
It's so good like to hear anyone being like having like a positive, healthy relationship with social media as well. Because I feel like so many people, like so much of the time, it does just kind of like freak you out. And if you can like have a good intentional.
Yeah, exactly. And I definitely had to go through that unfollow phase on Instagram for sure. Like because it wasn't always healthy and I knew what I needed and I knew what I didn't need. And as much as I want to support the people that I like, at the end of the day, my mental health is the most important. So sometimes you just gotta take a break from social media in general, take a break from following certain people until you are at a place where it doesn't impact you.
This is such a weird specific question, but do you think your like mental health training has like impacted the way you navigate like the social media space at all? Because you're like literally an expert.
I'm not licensed yet, but
okay. You're literally almost an expert.
I think my education in mental health, my education as a counseling psychologist, it definitely makes me think more critically about how I interpret things and how I ingest things, especially as I have conversations with people who are very vulnerable. When I'm doing therapy, people open up and they're like, this is how this is making me feel. And I sit and have so much time to think about my clients that I'm like, maybe it's doing the same thing to me. Maybe am I experiencing? I think being able to have such open questions about mental health with the people that I work with makes me think more critically about how I am in the world. So that's how I would answer your question. Like, I don't know if I left grad school, like I should really be doing this different. But over the years, as I've practiced and had more conversations, it's definitely opened my eyes to wanting to take better care of myself at the end of the day.
Cool. I remember like seeing in one of your videos, I think it was the one where you're talking about moving to London, and you were kind of being like, I decided I was going to stop dreaming and start doing and all this stuff. And I was like, she's so self-aware.
Exactly. And I remember
showing.
yes, like all through when I was in undergrad, I was like, one day I'm going to live abroad. And then I immediately went to grad school. And during grad school, I was like, okay, when I'm done with this, I'm moving to Spain. I'm going to teach English in Spain. And then I started my associateship is what it's called. And so I never gave myself the chance. I kept saying I was going to do these things and I never did them. And I want to change that. So that's where we're at.
And we're also blessed to get to watch the journey happen.
Like it's never too late to have that kind of gap year that you might want. It's never too late to jump, to leap, to dream.
Do you feel like you're in a community with other creators, and do you have other creators that you kind of like aspire to feel like you're in a community with, and like who do you kind of see yourself, if anyone, like are there channels you sort of see yourself being like?
As I mentioned before, I think finding community within smaller creators is really difficult. And even when I see that, and maybe this is something I need to get over, but having only 100 and something subscribers and even seeing someone who has 1,000, in my mind, I'm like, they've already passed this phase, so they probably wouldn't want to connect. And I think that's something that if they're good people, they're good people. And if people want community, they want community. And so I need to get over thinking that I can't reach out to people just because they aren't in the same phase that I'm in. But again, finding small creators, I have found to be a bit challenging. And I think part of that is that I've been subscribed to people for so long that I don't always seek out new people. It's something you just stumble upon sometimes. So I don't have community on YouTube. I don't know other people who are creating videos. I would love that because I think in those times when you do get a little bit down, like when you're losing your motivation, having that can be really important. Like if you're in school, having a study group is really useful. And so having that within YouTube would be really helpful for me, I think. When it comes to people I aspire to, I think again, I mentioned Joe Franco earlier, but doing Shut Up and Go and Damon and Joe channel, and now they've kind of stopped working together, I guess. I don't know. But they both
no one, just don't talk about it. Don't mention the war.
That's who I really look up to. Like, I don't want to feel like, if I'm still doing YouTube 5-10 years from now, I don't want to feel like I'm stuck in a certain niche, as they say. And I think Joe is a really good example of that.
So many people get into it because they want to do something that's like not so conventional, not have to like fit into any box. But then like very quickly with anything, any subculture, anything in life, like boxes are created. And like, even though it should be this completely like free space, and we kind of talk about it as being a free space, there's definitely like genres that people get into very fast and feel very fascinated, and like constantly trying to like remind yourself that you can do whatever you want is like so important.
Exactly. And you will be able to find those people again who want to see that thing. You have to have patience in that journey. But I find myself being like, Serena, you do not need to go to Paris 4 times just to get like all of this attraction. Everyone talks about searchable content, but at the end of the day, you have to be making what you want to make and what you would want to watch. So
yeah, I actually find that like lately I've been almost on purpose making like unsearchable content. I'm just like, if you're not the right kind of people, and if you're not here for me, like you're gonna catch me slipping and you're gonna cancel me, and I do not want that negativity. So like I need people who are gonna go on the journey.
Exactly. Even making videos today, I'm like, oh, is that joke like, should I have said, like, is somebody gonna be mad? But even I made a video about Beyonce did the Ivy Park line with Adidas, and I made a video about that, and I was not critiquing Beyonce at all, and somebody in the comments was still like, that's hilarious that you would say blah blah blah, and I'm just like, what are you talking about? So the most harmful
thing, the internet, don't bring up Beyonce.
That part. If you don't make searchable content, you can live your life more freely, I think.
Yeah, and you'll just like, it'll just be seen by people who are kind of like want to give you the benefit of the doubt, which is kind of where I've been at lately. It's just like, those 3 guys who are really like going on the journey with me, this is for you. Okay, so the last question I have for you is, how do you think we could like reach out to each other as smaller creators and form connections and support each other? Like, let's workshop it.
Not enough people comment on people's videos, and I started doing this recently, seeing the impact that it can have, and how kind of my social psychology brain is like, when one person does something, it makes other people want to do it. So if you do really like someone's YouTube, commenting so that it encourages other people to comment and brings more people, like you comment on something and then somebody comments on what you comment, it just like is a way to start that communication without having to like DM someone if that makes you nervous. So, and like you did a great thing.
I think I'm gonna make like a series of just like me chatting to like creators who I really admire, who are like small, and like see if I can get some conversations going. Maybe make a group chat somewhere. I don't know.
Exactly. Yes. The people you find, I'm going to follow them, and hopefully you have initiated this. I appreciate you. Thank you. Maybe I'll come to Dublin one day.
I give really good tours. We've got a lot of Americans studying abroad here. I've dated half of them. I give like stellar tours.
The tours are down.
Thank you so much for watching. Please go check out Serena's channel, and if you are someone who's making videos around here, or even who just likes watching and chatting, please reach out in the comments somewhere. I'd love to know your answers to any of the questions I asked Serena, which I've written out in the description. I hope you have a beautiful week. See you soon. Bye.